Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we have the bumper off of my 2003 Ford Excursion. This should be the same bumper that came on all of the F-250s and 350s from 1999 to, I believe, 2006. So should be pretty applicable, and really anything that you're going to be doing that's metal or have chrome on it, the process is going to be the same. So we're going to start all this off by getting the surface ready. So I'm going to use a wire wheel on a grinder, and I'm going to get all of this kind of chrome off. You want to take the heavy scaling and junk off of it. This is not perfect, and it's beyond polishable back to perfection. So it's time to just go black with it. So we're going to use a sander, which I have right here, just a orbital dual action sander and a wire brush on a grinder. We're going to get all this chrome off down to the metal, and we're going to get a rough surface. Then once we get all of this prepped, and we're also going to sand down the plastics, we'll take some primer. So this stuff's got a lot of, like, I'll call it like glue, so to speak. It really sticks to what you need it to stick to, and really is a better surface for the paint to stick to. So it's going to help adhesion a lot. Then what we're going to do is we're going to spray her down with this flat black Rust-Oleum. It says it stops rust. So we're going to apply this to the back side of the bumper because it's rather corroded. So we're going to make that stop. And then what we're going to do is once we have the back side done, we'll move on to the RAPTOR liner. I would like to spray this on because I want to get some more experience with the spray gun, but realistically my workshop is pretty small. So I'm going to end up going and grabbing like a high texture roller, and I'll show that to you guys. And I'll end up probably rolling the RAPTOR liner onto this stuff and onto the plastic as well. But it turns out same finish basically as the spray gun. I've compared them side by side. You really can't tell the difference. And it works just well, and you don't have to use the air compressor or really worry about, overspray or anything like that. So yeah, let's get into it. All right guys, so the first step of any painting project or any kind of surface refinishing, whatever, is disassembling the parts that you don't want put together and prepping it. So what I gotta do is flip this bumper around and then take all these plastic pieces off. So I've disassembled about half of the bumper now. You can see the bumper mounting bracket and the fog light. I, of course, am doing this with a 1/2-inch impact and one of these Pittsburgh 1/2-inch in, 3/8 out little adapter extensions. So yeah, I took my 8mm fasteners out with a 1/2-inch impact. Yeah, don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do, right? So yeah, don't do that. But we've only broken off a couple, so that's fine. We'll just poke a new bolt in there, not a big deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of this taken apart. Okay, so we got the lower valence off. There's still this plastic trim piece on, and there's it's like a plastic stud that comes through with a metal nut on it that kind of bites onto it. I will not be using the impact for those because I may be careless with these little 8mm ones, but the plastic studs, yeah, can't replace those. So yeah, we're just going to take a socket, do it by hand. I know you probably can't see this, but I will show you afterwards what I'm talking about. It's just this, it's just a nut. It looks like this. So it's just, of course, it's just a plastic nut. You can kind of see, yeah, right in there. It's got these teeth, and it makes its own threads when it goes on the stud. So we'll keep going on this. Now on the back side of the bumper, you can see that metal stud I was talking about, and you can kind of see how it makes its own threads as it screws on there. But right now there's all these clips that poke through on this bumper for this plastic piece I was telling you about earlier. So we just take some pliers and we just kind of grab and pinch on this, and then we pry it from the backside out gently, and we'll have to take all of these out. I mean, as you can see, there's there's a bunch of them. So I've gotten the plastics off the bumper, and now I can really bring in here, and you can see why we are going to be doing what we're going to be doing, because it is not good. You know, this just is not the look we're going for. And I know that this is the back of the bumper, you know, say what you want, but when I look up inside of there, I don't like it, and I don't want rust drips down onto that plastic, which is ugly. So we're going to be making the rust stop here, because if you're going to put the prep in and the work to get this all looking nice and black, you don't want brown rust stains dripping down on top of it. So we'll start grinding down on this and then go from there. Challenge is getting this chrome ready for paint. If you know anything about painting stuff, you know that you can't really paint chrome. It's so smooth that paint mechanically bonds to stuff, and you can't typically get paint to mechanically bond to the chrome. There's just nothing to grab onto. That's why it's like a mirror, because it's perfectly smooth. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your sander of some kind. Right now I'm running some 220 grit. I'm going to switch over to 80 and see if I like it better. But as of right now, I've gotten this chrome to look like, kind of like if you had just had primer, and you can see stuff just flaking off. But if I had put primer on this bumper and sanded it a little bit, that's what you want it to look like. So there's, and you can feel, like, you can probably hear it, like, you can hear how it's grabbing my fingernail, and then if I come over here, it's not making any noise. So you can really tell the difference there. That paint will grab onto and stick to. This, nothing's going to stick to it. It'll chip off. We are at the point where I have sanded this down about as far as I'm going to take it. I'm going to put some primer on it and wipe down the acetone. We'll get back to you. This laid down first coat, pretty thick. For this really rusted type of stuff, I just put on a thick coat of primer once and just let it ride. With all of these little nuts that kind of have the little arm that reaches around to the front side, you want to turn them all one way, prime it, turn them all the other way, because you'll notice there's like a spot where this was that is not primed. So what I'll do is turn them the other way. Once I get that first layer primed, we're going to just touch up on these spots and then immediately go straight into paint. This is not the pretty side. You don't need to worry about it. It'll stick. It'll keep it from rusting. That's all you really got to worry about. Okay, we got a thick coat of primer and paint on here. It's still got to dry. It's been drying for about an hour now. The can says 2 to 4 hours dry to the touch. And so yeah, this shiny stuff, definitely still tacky. This where it's like a flat is, you can tell it's not cured, but it's not hard. So what I'm going to do is pull this out of my little shop space, let it dry. We're going to pull the plastics up onto the bench and go from there. Okay, so we've got the bumper flipped over. It has dried. We've moved the plastics out. We're ready to prime this. Now, a guy's been thinking, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to prime all this, the whole thing. But I'm going to take my black paint. I'm going to paint black everywhere that the plastic goes, and just a little bit up. And then I'll put the plastic on and then Raptor line all of that. That way it's one even coat over the top. I'll have black behind that trim panel already, and I think that's going to be the ticket to making it look as good as possible. So we're going to start that process. This actually matters. We actually follow the directions, which says put on a light coat, really light, okay? And then let it sit for 10 minutes, and then put on 2 to 3 more light coats, just slowly building it up. It is now dried far enough. We're going to take this black paint, put it where we want it, and then go on from there. Okay, as you saw, I got this set up. Let's talk technique for a second. I have this gun set up, and it has a straw, and you mix it and put the bottle on here. This is regulated. You always set your regulated pressure to while pulling the trigger. The regulator's down on the air compressor. Right now it says about 90. And as of right now, I'm planning to spray at about 60. I might adjust that as I'm going, but when you pull the trigger, that's when you got to set your pressure. You got to watch like steady flow. It needs to be steadily flowing 60 psi. And according to the directions, you're supposed to hold it back like, I think 18 inches. Mixing this Raptor liner is really simple. They supply you, or they give you this cup, this jug, and 4 of these containers in this kit right here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this hardener, you're gonna fill it up to that line right there. You can't miss it. So you'll fill it up to that line, you'll take that, pour it into this container right here, and then you're gonna shake it really good for like a minute or 2. And then you'll screw around to the bottom of the bottle. It has this straw that's going to sit down inside of there, and then you'll just start spraying.
Now this is about the time when people start to freak out. This is mixed. It's gonna get hard. So here's the thing you want to remember is not to freak out, okay? You got well over an hour for this stuff to harden up. And I know from experience, you got at least an hour and a half. So you do not need to worry and freak out, and go too fast, and rush it, and don't do that. And you may be thinking to yourself, hey, you said you're gonna roll this. Well, I was. But truth be told, I'm too cheap to go buy another roller. And they're like $9 a piece. And I have this sprayer, and everything's soaking wet, so hopefully I don't get too much dust. I guess we'll find out. Something in me just says stir more. Here we go. So what I did there is a test pass. I think I'm gonna like it.
Okay, so we got the back of the bumper reassembled. We broke some hardware, if you remember, so apparently need to tighten that. But yeah, we got a couple new bolts in there. That's fine. Got these painted up. We only painted the front side because it doesn't matter and these don't look bad. But this is for the bumper spacers. It goes in between that and the frame because the bumper's got to sit another like half or 5/8 forward because we got some big wide tires and she rubs pretty bad. That's also why it's cut. But anyway, so you can see we didn't paint the back side of the plastic. Who cares? But just look up in here. Look at how beautiful. Look at how much nicer it is. It's not all rusted. It's not all garbage. It's mint.